Today we have had the honor of speaking with law enforcement officer Martha Adams and hearing just the other side of some very controversial topics, one of those being the death penalty. And we got the chance to hear how the death penalty lays in the minds of some law enforcement workers.
So we've talked a lot about your position on specific touchy subjects as a law enforcement officer. One we haven't touched on is the death penalty. What are your thoughts on the death penalty?
I definitely see why the death penalty is so controversial. From my personal perspective, I think the death penalty should not be a thing because the death penalty is 100% like guaranteed you're gonna die. And sometimes there's not a guarantee that the person's done it. And over the years, there have been a couple hundred people now that have been exonerated after the penalty has been instated and been fully executed. So I think if the death penalty is going to continue to be a thing, it has to be 100% guaranteed that they did it. And I think that's definitely a hard thing to prove. I can see why people are for it, and I can see why people are against it. And I definitely think some crimes are so heinous and just absolutely with a disregard for human life that there should be a punishment that is severe enough to deal with that. But once again, it's hard to be 100% certain that somebody has done something, and that would be the only way I think I personally would be able to be for it.
And so I know it's like a statewide or like a state dictated thing. Do you think it should be reinstated nationally?
I definitely think that should stay as something that states should be able to decide. I think making it national is giving too much power to the federal government, and that it just feels like the states should be able to decide whether that's something they're willing to have in their state, because, if the people in that state do not agree, they have every right to vote against that, and the state representatives should go about that accordingly in taking away or keeping that in that specific state.
And how would you describe the potential imbalance of power? Like, how do you think it would affect state government power versus like national government power?
I think it takes away from states having their own power. Something that's so severe like that being put federally can take away a state's opportunity to choose. And I know Illinois is a Democratic state, so I think if a Democratic state decides they don't want the death penalty, it should be like that. And somewhere as Texas, that is mostly Republican, wants to choose for the death penalty, then they have the right to do that. And that's something that should not be taken away from the states, because that's going to take the power and give it straight to the federal government. And obviously there needs to be that balance between the two.
And so, say it were to be reinstated nationally, do you think the justice system would need to be reformed or restructured in major or minor ways?
I definitely think it needs to be, a lot of things need to be ironed out, and it does take so long for the death penalty to come full circle and be executed. And that's definitely an issue. There's a lot of tax-paying dollars that go into something like this that people don't realize. They think it's, you get convicted, you're put in the death penalty, and you die. It's a lot more than that, and there's people that are on death row for 30, 40 years. It's not something that's one and done real fast. And like I said before, there is that questioning factor that what if they didn't actually do it? And I think that is something that would have to be figured out, because I don't think it's fair if the government is killing somebody now that doesn't deserve to be killed. What's the difference between that and a murder? An innocent life is being taken, and an innocent person is being held accountable for those actions. I think that's definitely probably my biggest concern with that. And yeah, that's how I definitely think there's a lot of things that need to be figured out.
And you had mentioned like the exoneration of people who have been wrongly executed. Do you think there needs to be reform in that aspect, like not just like monetary like compensation, but do you think like there needs to be like more reform in like the states that already passed the death penalty now to like prevent further like wrongful executions?
Yeah, I definitely think something with that needs to be changed, because it definitely, like, just because so let's say you get wrongfully executed, just because your family gets money doesn't really change anything. Your life was taken for no reason because you didn't commit the murder. And I think that is definitely, I'm not 100% sure how I would even go about something like that, but just that uncertainty of, did this person, we're talking about human lives, we're not talking about money or anything like that. I just think to be able to, just even one wrongful execution is not worth the death penalty, because now we're killing innocent people, so how does that make it any better? And throughout the years, there has been almost no statistical backup saying that the death penalty does have a criminal deterrent. There's really no proof of that, so it really brings it back to the original eye for an eye thought, and that seems very barbaric in these times. And I know the crimes are harsh, but the fact that there is that uncertainty is really what is bothersome to me, and I think that is the main reason I would choose against it.
I'd like to thank Officer Martha Adams for taking time out of her day to sit down and have a very personal and in-depth conversation about some of the most sensitive topics in today's society and government.